GulfCoastShowcase.com. We welcome you a good evening here from Hertz Arena. And we've got the first of two exciting matchups this evening. First things first, it's the third place game in the Gulf Coast Showcase Tournament, featuring the Tulane Green Wave and the Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns. Hello everybody and welcome into Hertz Arena. Spencer Siegel with you alongside John Gross. And John, this is a matchup featuring two Louisiana teams, but only the fifth time that these two teams have matched up since 1957.
Haven't played each other much recently, but I'm expecting a competitive game. These are two sides who able to get a win on day one. Now they're trying to salvage this, go out with a 2-1 record, expecting a close one.
Looking to finish with an above 500 record. Yep. Let's start with Louisiana. Who are you looking at tonight?
Jaquin again. He's been their guy throughout this season thus far, and in particular this tournament. They have to match Tulane's size, and I think Gant on the offense side of the ball, we know he can score. He's going to have to be a factor defensively as well.
Gant had two early fouls that took him out of the game yesterday. Speaking of Tulane's size, Samir Shayich is somebody to watch on the other side for a squad that's led up by head coach Mike Dunleavy Sr.
Yeah, we've seen the guard Caleb Daniels do his thing, but Shayich has been an X factor for them. I expect him to match up very well against Louisiana's lack of interior size.
It's the Tulane Green Wave out of the American Athletic Conference. Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns out of the Sun Belt. Both sides picked up Game 1 wins on Monday. A loss yesterday has sent them to the third place game with an opportunity to finish 2-1. We'll have it all for you, tip-off, starting lineups, and everything else that you need to know. On the other side, don't go anywhere here on GulfCoastShowcase.com.
How much pressure do you have to perform from day one?
There's no pressure. There's no pressure at all. I've been getting pressure since I was 10 years old. I'm doing something that I love to do. That's play the game of basketball. Y'all like to watch me play basketball. It hasn't kicked in yet to what I'm getting myself into. I'm not going to guarantee no championship. I'll tell you that.
Back-to-back titles for the 52 years.
I just hope that they accept me for who I am as a basketball player, and especially as a person. I know how to be a leader. It's just a long-term. I always tell y'all that this was one of the long-term dreams I always had. That's just playing in the NBA.
From St. Vincent St. Mary's High School, LeBron James.
All right, crew, let's get started. Sure.
Don't ignore the law. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 days before any digging project so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811.
It's amazing how every once in a while, you find entirely new places to discover. Even within yourself. Find yourself in a new place. Find your way here. It's amazing how every once in a while, you find entirely new places to discover. Even within yourself. Find yourself in a new place. Find your way here. It's amazing how every once in a while, you find entirely new places to discover. Even within yourself. Find yourself in a new place. Find your way here.
Live from Estero, it's time for our third place matchup here at Hertz Arena. The Tulane Green Wave and the Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns, these two teams have some history, but John, as we talked about, they haven't matched up that much despite the fact that they're not too far away from each other. An intra-state rivalry tonight.
Various reasons as to why that is the case, but nonetheless, players from Louisiana on both sides, I'm sure they're familiar with each other to a degree at least, and should be a pretty good battle for third place in what's been an exciting Gulf Coast showcase.
These two universities only separated by about 2 hours and 45 minutes, and a starting lineup for Tulane that has been consistent throughout this tournament, and one would argue that they've pulled off the biggest upset win of the tournament thus far with their opening round victory over South Dakota State.
That was an impressive win for them. Play good basketball, especially late in the game, which is when you want to be playing your best game. Able to pull out a 4-point win against South Dakota State side that earlier today claimed the 5th place spot in this 2018 Gulf Coast Showcase. Now Tulane, chance to finish out their time of this tournament with a win.
So you get an opportunity to see the bracket down at the bottom right of your screen. Tulane and Louisiana, the third place game, to be followed by our championship contest tonight between the UC Irvine Anteaters and the Toledo Rockets. The Ragin' Cajuns out of the Sun Belt, and the Green Wave coming to us from the American Conference. As I mentioned, just the 5th meeting since 1957 for these two teams. Tulane have won each of the last 12 meetings dating back to 1937, so it has been a while for the Ragin' Cajuns, and our matchup begins with Tulane in the black and the Ragin' Cajuns in the white. Starting 5 on the floor for Louisiana: Cedric Russell, Malik Marquetti, Jakeenan Gant, Marcus Stroman, and Justin Miller. What we've come to expect from the Ragin' Cajuns through the first 2 contests. Gant will take the first jump shot of the day for the Cajuns and come up short. On the other side for Tulane, the starting 5 hasn't changed. It's Jordan Cornish, Samir Shayich up top, along with the freshman Shaquan Barrett. Caleb Daniels has been a spark for the Green Wave, and the big man Blake Paul down low. Barrett swatted away by both Russell and Gant. It was Russell who got in there.
Barrett aggressive early on in this one. A couple takes to the basket. He's done a good job this tournament slashing through defenses.
As I mentioned, both of these teams coming off of wins in their opening round matchup. Tulane with the win over South Dakota State, while Louisiana downed Colorado State. Ragin' Cajuns put up 91 points in that win. Tulane 84 in their victory, led by Caleb Daniels' 24 points. For Louisiana, 5 different players scored between 10 and 19 points. Led by Jakeenan Gant, who had the 19, and he starts with 2 a minute and a half into the ball game.
As we discussed in the pregame, he's the guy for this side. And it'll be a tough task for him to match up with some of this size, but he has the offensive ability to score.
Daniels on the lead pass from Barrett. Had it tapped, falling away, and here come the Cajuns. Stroman leaves it for Miller, feet set, offline. And Miller struggled from 3 yesterday in the loss to Toledo, 0 for 5 from distance. Comes up with a steal here, though, and keeps it alive for Stroman, who hustles down the loose ball. Probes inside and can't get the floater to go.
I'd say Tulane's uniforms, at least my favorite that I've seen so far in this tournament.
There's Shayich. He gets into the action, a triple. Samir Shayich, the redshirt junior from Cypress, Texas. Miller will try again, and there he connects on his first three. The Cajuns need Justin Miller to get going.
I think Tulane will probably give him that look, but the fact that he's hitting early on, maybe it'll give him some confidence moving forward in this tournament.
Daniels passes out of a double team, and Shayich is fouled, bumped by Miller. Green Wave led by third-year head coach Mike Dunleavy Sr. have gotten Tulane off to a solid start, especially with their win over South Dakota State. Also picked up a win at home against Coastal Carolina. Now 2-2 on the young season, getting ready for what is a tough American Conference. Cornish rises. Malik Marquetti. There's Russell. Gant the rebound back up. Sent out of bounds, keeping it with the Cajuns. Bob Marlin, the ninth-year head coach for these Ragin' Cajuns, has found success within this program. A 91-55 Sun Belt record over his first 8 years.
Impressive stuff. And this program in the right place, reigning regular season Sun Belt champions.
Jarikus Davis. No.
Now they look to take that next step. You have to win the conference tournament for that automatic bid to the NCAA tournament.
Tapped out of bounds. Good defense by Davis on the other end. It stays with Tulane, and that's where we'll pick things up as we look forward to these two teams in the third place game on GulfCoastShowcase.com.
All right, crew, let's get started. Kurt?
Don't ignore the law. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 days before any digging project so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811.
A look at the Tulane Green Wave and head coach Mike Dunleavy Sr. It's a transition for him. We've talked about it. We know what he's capable of doing for not only a program but his players.
Yes, he sent a few of them to the NBA last season, both Melvin Frazier Jr. and Cameron Reynolds getting some opportunities in the association. He knows how to get his guys there. He knows how to get teams ready to win. As you see on this screen, 17 years as an NBA head coach, and it's starting to reflect in terms of his recruiting. Highly touted recruiting class coming in. Came in this past year. We've seen Kevin John get some extended action. Moses Wood as well, a couple of those members of the class.
Melvin Frazier drafted in the second round by the Orlando Magic. Cam Reynolds signed a contract with the Sacramento Kings. He's currently in the G League. And we talked about it yesterday. We touched on the fact that he says he loves recruiting because he was a general manager for 11 of his 17 years as a head coach in the NBA. And a college coach is a lot like being a GM. You get to pick your players instead of drafting them, so it's a little bit different. But most importantly, he says, I know the types of guys who can coach, or rather who can play for me. He picked 6 All-Stars over the course of 11 years, and he coached 5 different Hall of Famers. Part of talent, part of picking talent is being able to pick guys who can play for you.
And then, of course, you have to finish off the job. Because it's unlike the draft where you kind of just choose who you want. And you need the player to choose you.
Caleb Daniels, strong to the rim. He'll have 2 free throws.
Fouls ranging, Cajuns number 11, Jarius Davis. That's his first personal foul. Team second.
Strong take by Daniels. Lowering that shoulder, getting into the basket.
Caleb Daniels, who is an academic, or rather an all-academic team in the American Conference. Almost said academic All-American. That's the American Conference can make things somewhat confusing. Came off the bench in 30 games last year. He was a valedictorian, or the valedictorian, in 2017 in his St. Augustine graduating class.
That's what you look for in a student athlete. Can play. Smart student.
Good ball movement. Marchetti can't connect. Jong the rebound. Here comes Moses Wood. Goes right in on Stroman and scores.
It's freshman to freshman. We'll see some 2-3 zone action from the Green Wave. Force Louisiana to take some 3 balls.
Dunleavy directing traffic. Russell will oblige, but can't hit the 3. Barrett bumped by Stroman, and the fouls piling up early. That's the 3rd Louisiana team foul.
His first, team 3rd. Back in the game for Louisiana 55, Justin Miller.
Justin Miller checks back in for Jarius Davis. Shaquan Barrett, extra pass. Moses Wood, feet set.
Low scoring game. We've seen a lot of points scored in this tournament. Well, defenses doing a good job, and now Tulane back into the man-to-man.
Miller once, Miller twice, and the foul. The first time we saw Tulane, they hung 84 on South Dakota State. But then yesterday, it was really the defense of Irvine that changed the course of the game. Tulane only able to shoot 34% from the field, 20 of 59 from the floor.
UC Irvine, though, do that to most teams in the country. Won't have a very high field goal percentage against the Anteaters, who we'll see at 7:30 playing for the championship.
This is, as you mentioned, a defensive struggle to start so far. Miller can't complete the three-point play. Both teams just shooting 25% in the first 6 minutes. Cornish took some contact, so too did Paul. Moses Wood Third time not the charm. Daniels, though, the hustle play. And right now, it's pretty ugly in the paint. Any way you can put the ball in the hole, though.
It's been a physical battle for both sides. And when you have as many big men on the floor as we see now, you figure the guard might not get there. But Caleb Daniels can do more than just shoot the rock. Following the shot and finishing through the contact.
22 in the win over Coastal Carolina. And followed up his 24-point performance on Monday with a team-high 14 in the loss last night. There's Marchetti. And he gets into the scoring column.
Going against the 2-3 zone. You need quick ball movement. And you'll need guys to hit three-pointers. That's how you play a team out of a zone. Right there, Marchetti. Big triple.
Blake Paul walked. Daniels, that 24 points, set a new career high. The sophomore from New Orleans has looked so far to be the first emergee after Frazier and Reynolds have left for greener pastures. Well, I suppose the pastures can't get much greener than the Tulane Green Wave, but I digress. Stroman couldn't find Gant. Daniels tapped it, had to save it. Ball ricochets out of bounds, and it turns back over to Louisiana.
Loose balls all over the place. As Marchetti gets his hand in there. Good save, though, by Daniels. And just poked away.
Check number 3, number 5, Connor Crabtree.
First look for Connor Crabtree today. Did not do much in the first contest, but yesterday Crabtree saw 18 minutes. 4 points, 4 rebounds. Before it got to Gant, it was kicked.
And Tulane, they're going to stay with that 2-3, it appears, until Louisiana shows them that it won't be of benefit for Tulane. That means hitting some threes. Tulane, a very long team. Makes it tough to counter that 2-3.
Fouls on Greenway, number 4, Moses Wood, his first, team second.
Stroman, strong.
For 35, Marcus Stroman.
Marcus Stroman, the senior guard from Columbia, South Carolina, and the transfer from the University of. He has proven to be the leader on the floor. Moses Wood, good look. Paul can't get the putback to go. Another loose ball. Crabtree. And that's a tie up, and we'll go the other way. A feisty battle, to say the least, early on.
I think that's probably the best way to put it.
These two sides, we'll talk about it when we come back.
How much pressure do you have to perform from day one?
There's no pressure. There's no pressure at all. I've been getting pressure since I was 10 years old. I'm doing something that I love to do. That's play the game of basketball. Y'all like to watch me play basketball. It hasn't kicked in yet to what I'm getting myself into. I'm not going to guarantee no championship. I'll tell you that.
Back-to-back titles. 52 years.
I just hope that they accept me for who I am as a basketball player and especially as a person. I know how to be a leader. It's just a long-term, I always tell y'all that this was one of the long-term dreams I always had. That's just playing in the NBA.
From St. Vincent St. Mary's High School, LeBron James.
Happy to have you along here for the third place game at the Gulf Coast Showcase. Spencer Siegel with John Gross, and we take a look at the Ragin' Cajuns team overview. An NIT loss last year to their in-state rival LSU. But once again, you bring back 3 starters, you've got an opportunity to build on what has been yet another successful year for Bob Marlin.
It has been, and you don't see a lot of teams schedule as tough as Louisiana did to start the season. You got 2 Tennessee, 2 Kansas. Those are multiple top 10 road matchups. And what that does is, well, it gets your team adjusted to playing in tough environments and against good competition. But as the season progresses, you won't be playing teams that are of the caliber of a Kansas or of a Tennessee. So ideally, if you're Coach Marlin and the Ragin' Cajuns, you start to figure yourself out in those games, and from there it gets a little bit easier. But they're in a battle with Tulane.
Yeah, Georgia State and Georgia Southern, the 2 teams ahead of them in the preseason poll. State, last year's tournament appearees, and Southern, last year's Gulf Coast Showcase runners-up. Lots of firepower in the Sun Belt Conference. They're not just a football and a baseball conference like most people think. It's a strong move from Marchetti, who gobbled up the rebound.
That's another downside of playing in a zone defense. It's tougher to find a man and get a body on him to box out. So a lot of those rebounds can kind of get lost.
Jeremy Hayes whistled for the foul. Bob Marlin has championship pedigree, not just with his Sun Belt regular season titles, of which they won 1 last year, and now we've got a technical foul, which means we'll walk the other way and shoot free throws.
It looked like it was on Bob Marlin. Pretty animated on the sideline. Second time this tournament that we've seen a head coach get teed up.
So Shayich will get 2 free throws, and Tulane will get the ball back. The championship pedigree I was referring to, by the way, perhaps not the best timing with the technical foul. Nonetheless, he did win a junior college national championship in 1993 at Pensacola Junior College. Spent 5 seasons there. Has 20 years of experience in the D1 coaching ranks, a native of Tupelo, Mississippi. Here's Barrett. Too strong with the finger roll. Here come the Cajuns. Marchetti lost it. Crabtree swipes it away. Cornish goes in on Gant and scores. And it's a 1-point game.
Strong move to the basket. He's a big physical presence. Able to body off Gant at the last second and finish inside.
Green Wave will stay in their zone. It's a zone that's allowed to move more than most. Right now, the Cajuns moving the ball well enough to dissect it. Crabtree, the lob. Paul can't put it in. A steal from Cornish. all by himself. Jordan Cornish to the hole.
Sloppy passing. Those cross-court passes, they'll result in a turnover quite a bit. Have to be a little more careful with the basketball offensively.
3 turnovers for the Cajuns, 4 for Tulane. Gant has position, fouled by Paul. He'll go to the free throw line. Jakeenan Gant, who recorded 18 points in his first 4 games this season, was finally held below that total yesterday, finished with 16 and 9 rebounds on 6 of 14 shooting. Gant named Mr. Basketball in Georgia as a senior in 2014 for Effingham County. Transferred from Missouri after the 2015-2016 season. Really broke out last year, leading the Sun Belt in field goal percentage, and you can see why. Shayich lost a man. There's Gant, also led the Sun Belt in blocks.
Tough defense. You mentioned leading the conference in field goal percentage. He's a big man, but he doesn't just take shots in the paint. He could stretch out the floor.
He has 2 rejections in the first half. Boy Coca into the game for the first time for the Green Wave. 10 on the shot clock. Shayich got a good look. Stroman bumped by Coca.
Coca's length could have a big impact on this 2-3 zone.
Listed at 7 feet, redshirt freshman from South Sudan. Coca has to work on Gant. That's a nice hook shot.
Over the long arms of Coca, as we mentioned. The 7-footer can't do anything to stop Gant.
Gant with a nose for the cup early on, 6 points to lead the way for the Cajuns in the first half. Jordan Cornish, though, with a man in his face. Stroman's got the step. Miller, nice pump fake. Got his man in the air as Daniels tried to come from behind. And now the scoring starting to pick up halfway through the first half.
It's because we've seen some better passing. Both sides working the ball around a bit more, finding the open man.
Gant almost got a piece of that one. A tougher shot for Shaquan Barrett. His first 2 of the afternoon.
Not afraid to go up against Gant, who has a couple blocks already in this first half. And like you said, almost had that one too.
They'll let Miller take that. Can't knock it down. Around a screen, Barrett just threw it away. Cajuns have themselves a 3-point lead in the battle for Louisiana, our 3rd place game in Estero on GulfCoastShowcase.com.
All right, crew, let's get started. Sure.
Don't ignore the law. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 days before any digging project so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811.
Welcome back to Estero, the Cajuns with a 3-point lead on Tulane as we continue here in Estero, Florida. A fun time so far, John, and right now, what are you seeing out of this game?
Well, this game has been close. It was a slow start offensively for both sides, a bit sloppy. But lately we've seen some better ball movement. It's been intense. It's kind of what we expected, given these two schools are from the same state. Maybe not a ton of recent history, but a lot of guys from Louisiana.
Justin Miller leading the way with 7 points for the Cajuns. On the other side, it's Jordan Cornish, who's the only Green Wave player so far to net more than one field goal as we pick action up here with under 8 minutes to play in the first half.
Gant taking a quick breather. Looks like they're taping something up on his lower leg as well.
We've talked with Mike Dunleavy about points per possession, the three-point shot and the free throws. Those are the most important elements for him. He says those are the most efficient places to score your points. Would be hard to disagree as Barrett stuck his hand in the cookie jar. 1 for 5 on threes for Tulane so far, but 4 for 5 from the free throw line.
You got to look at this. Let's see. Looks like it was clean off the initial deflection. But a hold afterwards by Barrett. That'll be called every time.
It's Marcus Stroman up top. In on Barrett, all the way to the hole. Miller, the offensive board, the putback swatted by Coca. 3 on the shot clock, it didn't reset. Russell from the parking lot. The longest 3 of the tournament, Cedric Russell from Curryland.
Desperation shot. That worked out pretty well for him. A 6-point cushion for Louisiana.
Cornish inside, good defense from Davis. The tap, boy, Coca. That was Bula Zhang. Actually, you've got Zhang and Coca both in there. The two Sudanese players playing side by side, which they haven't done in this tournament.
Talk about size. Both right around 7 feet.
Nice cut. Davis just couldn't finish the easy lay-in. Here comes Cornish. Inside with the right, blocking foul, free throws, and Miller took a shot in a place where you don't want to get hit.
Well, he'll need a second to catch his breath. That looked like it hurt.
Number 55 right in the middle. Ouch.
And it's something that I think everyone out on the floor probably understands. Give him a little space, some time to just relax a bit, and he'll head to the sideline. See Cornish at the free throw line, but boy, Coca, despite his 7-foot frame, he was running with the basketball. Runs the floor very well for a guy his size.
We talked about Jordan Cornish and the fact that he's cousins with Leonard Fournette, but Cornish wants to make a name for himself. He was the #1 rated player coming out of the state of Louisiana as a freshman, or rather a senior in high school, Brother Martin High School. Led the team last year with just over 100 assists on the season. Stroman around a screen, met with a double team. Looking for some help. Found Marchetti. That's a nice dish. Extra feed for Davis. Out of bounds, and Davis tried to save it. It's back over to Tulane.
That's team defense right there. Look at this. Good rotation. And despite the deflection, Cornish ran past his man. Great help inside. Forcing the turnover.
Almost took out a camera or two. Cornish got the step. Short, there's the length for Tulane, but Gant rips it away. His 5th rebound of the first half. The lob for Gant, comes down with it. There's Coca with the rejection. Well, you put Coca and a Zhang in there at the same time. Now it's Daniels on the other end for 3. Tulane have tied it at 25 with less than 5 minutes to go in the first half.
Defense turning into offense. Every coach loves it. One of the most effective ways to score, the block shot. Feed down the court, and Daniels nails it from the corner.
Long 2, Davis offline. Green Wave with a chance to take the lead. They held it early, and then Cornish threw it away. Trailer, Marchetti walked.
Well, too antsy there. That's close. Marchetti did take a step.
1, 2.
And then he goes.
3.
Yep. Oh, there's my guy, number 5, Trajan Wesley, checking in.
Trajan Wesley had himself a day yesterday. 5 of 7 from the field, 12 points, coupled with his Game 1 performance where he scored 10 points on 3 shots. The 5'9" freshman coming in to make an impact. Here he is. Finds the trailer, Davis. No.
He also goes by Eddie House.
He also goes by Eddie House. Isn't that the truth? Under 4 to play in the first half. Gant rises and hits. Game high 9 first half points for the Cajuns' leading scorer, Jakeenan Gant.
That's what we were talking about earlier. He takes tough shots, but he hits them.
The Green Wave will have free throws. They trail by 3. They've stuck with Louisiana to this point. Right now, though, it's Jakeenan Gant who's doing everything he can to try and send his team from Fort Myers with a plus 500 record. The kids who have been mopping the floor, start to finish, that you got to use a little elbow grease. This is a poor effort. What is this?
All right, let's go see you do that, Spence.
There's the elbow grease.
There it
right
is.
there.
That's it.
Right there.
That's it.
You can't just aimlessly pretend that you've got a metal detector to find some gold underneath this thing.
That would be something, though. Invent a mop that can detect exactly where there's any moisture.
Well, we are playing on top of a hockey rink.
Yes. The Florida Everblades. That's one of the more creative sports teams' nicknames that I've heard, at least. I love it. Everblades.
Everblades have some of the best jerseys that you'll see in any sport for any team.
Really? I will be honest,
You
I've
can
not
see
seen
the trim along the outskirts of the stadium.
Wow.
Here.
So they have gators on there?
Oh yeah, we're in
I
Florida.
assume so. Let's see.
Have you run into a gator in your life? You're from New Jersey, so I'm going to go ahead and say that's a no.
Besides my friends who are Florida fans, no. Although I've seen a few. I spent a week or so in the Everglades. Went to Cape Canaveral a few years back. That's pretty much it.
You know, you'll catch some gators over by NASA headquarters.
Yep. There's going to be a football team playing here as well, right?
Yeah, a brand new arena team.
Yep.
Somebody's got to take over what used to be the Arena Football League that now has just 4 teams.
Yep.
The Washington Valor, they were your 2018 2018 Arena Football League champions. They started the season 0-4. I'm sorry, 0-8. There were 4 teams in the league. All 4 teams made the playoffs, and the Valor finished 4th.
You know what? I do like these Florida Everblades jerseys with the teeth on the sleeves. Pretty fresh.
I'm pretty sure each of the Arena League teams played each other at least 3 or 4 times during the course of the regular season. I think it was still a 16-week season, and the 4th place team won the title.
Well, that's.
Meanwhile, we've got a tie game.
I was going to say that's an exciting storyline at least.
Moses Wood connects on a pair into the scoring column after we saw his brother last year. Marchetti, drive and kick. Ten to shoot. It's Gant. In on Coca. Fall away, and a Zhang with the rebound. Coach Dunleavy asking his squad to set things up. Caleb Daniels cutting. There's a Zhang, but before he could lay it in, Daniels came in charging on Jarikis Davis, and it's an offensive foul.
Ooh, that's not a fun place to be on the ground. Davis was covering his face, hoping he wasn't going to get crushed by anyone. Luckily, he was not. Minute 53 here. This is a chance if either side can get a little run going before halftime. Carry the momentum into the locker room. There they go. Cleaning up the court.
What happened to the mop? Sixth team foul for Tulane, so the next, and Louisiana will be shooting free throws. Meanwhile, the Green Wave are in the double bonus for the final minute and a half. Marchetti puts the moves on Wood. Gant met by 2 strong, long, 7 feet tall men in the middle. And a reach-in foul will award Tulane a pair of free throws. This is the first time that we've seen this with Coca and a Zhang in there, and this might be something that Coach Dunleavy can work with. It'd be interesting to ask him about putting those two long big men in the middle, what it does for what is already a long squad with Blake Paul out there and Shayich, who's a stretch 4. Barrett knocks down the first of 2.
This adds a whole different dynamic. 2 7-footers on the floor, especially going up against a team like Louisiana, who they don't have much front court depth.
Two-point Green Wave lead. Stroman still trying to go inside. It was tapped out of bounds by the Green Wave. Jordan Cornish will come in for the final 75 seconds, in for Barrett. And Bob Marlin wants to talk things over. He'll take time. That'll give us an opportunity to take a look at where these teams are coming from all over the place, not just Louisiana and Tulane. We know that we've got 2 teams from the state of Louisiana, but with 8 teams on the men's side and 8 more starting on Friday on the women's side, check out this map of our tournament and where everybody comes from. You've got Washington up top, Fordham and Quinnipiac. Duke will be here on Friday. Ball State, Michigan. University of Texas, one of the top-ranked women's teams in the country.
We have Washington all the way in the top left, making quite the trip down to the southeast from the northwest.
Now all you need is some international flavor. A lot of these teams have played teams from other countries, gone on their own trips abroad.
Maybe next year the University of the Virgin Islands can play in this.
Tulane with the 2 Sudanese men in the middle, and they're now wreaking havoc. And of course you have Rayona Embo from France as well. One more timeout. This one will come from Mike Dunleavy.
Timeout Tulane, Green Wave. Timeout on the floor.
Have a chance to play the 2-for-1 here. If you're Tulane, go quick, about 10 or so seconds, and they'll get an opportunity. 2-for-1 obviously being you'll get 2 possessions. Louisiana would get 1. If they play it right, they could potentially wait to run this clock down, and that would allow Louisiana to hold for 1. But if they get something within the next 10 seconds or so, Green Wave, they might have 10 seconds as well to counter.
Shooting started soft from both sides, have since worked their way up over 30%. Cajuns shooting 39%, 11 of 28, while Tulane have made 9 field goals on 29 shots. 9 of 11, though, from the free throw line have kept them in the game and in the lead. Final minute of the first half. Caleb Daniels, the aggressor, strong move off glass. And a perfectly executed 2-for-1, 6 seconds between shot clock and game clock. Stroman wants Gant to come up for a screen. It's Davis for 3. Shayich skies for the rebound. The outlet pass to Daniels. One-handed feed for Moses Wood. They execute the 2-for-1 perfectly. One more chance. Stroman, deep 3. Yes, sir. A flurry at the end of the first half. Keeps Tulane in the lead, but keeps Louisiana close. 34-31. Caleb Daniels with 7. Jordan Cornish with 7. On the other side, Justin Miller, 7 points, but it's Jakeenan Gant leading the way. He's got 9. These two teams will fight it out in half number 2 for 3rd place, and John Gross will have the halftime report for you when we return. It's halftime, though. He'll break down the first half statistics and take you through the rest of college basketball as well. Out of the wood dunk, it was a quick trigger for Marcus Stroman. And we'll move things along. Halftime in Estero.
How much pressure do you have to perform from day one?
There's no pressure. There's no pressure at all. I've been getting pressure since I was 10 years old. I'm doing something that I love to do. That's play the game of basketball. Y'all like to watch me play basketball. It hasn't kicked in yet to what I'm getting myself into. I'm not going to guarantee no championship. I'll tell you that.
Back-to-back titles for the 52 years.
I just hope that they accept me for who I am as a basketball player and especially as a person. I know how to be a leader. It's just a long-term. I always tell y'all that this was one of the long-term dreams I always had. That's just playing in the NBA.
From St. Vincent St. Mary's High School, LeBron James.
All right, crew, let's get started. Kurt?
Don't ignore the law. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 days before any digging project so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811.
Well, it was an entertaining first half of action. Tulane, a 3-point lead over their in-state opponent, Louisiana. The Green Wave up 34-31 on the Ragin' Cajuns. It's been a tightly contested matchup. Taking a look at some of the highlights. A physical one as well, but it was a late burst, capped off by this Moses Wood transition flush that really put Tulane ahead. And then, as you'll see, clock winding down, Stroman hits the three, making it a one-possession game as the two teams head into the locker room. Statistically, about even. Both sides 35% from the fields. Ragin' Cajuns a touch better from deep. 5 of 13 from beyond the arc. 2 of 7 for Tulane. But the biggest difference has been at the free throw line. The Green Wave, they've been able to get there, and when they do, they hit. 10 of 13 from the stripe. Ragin' Cajuns only 2 for 3. And I'm sure that's something that Coach Marlin will want to change in the second half, especially considering what we saw Tulane do in half number 1. Bringing 2 7-footers. Ideal for Louisiana, get them in a little foul trouble. That makes things very difficult on the inside. But you have Boykoka and Bolajang to deal with, both guys out of South Sudan. Both just about 7 feet tall. And quite the wingspan as well. Leading scorer for Tulane. He's been doing it all tournament long. Caleb Daniels, 9 points, 50% from the fields. Doing his best to give Tulane a third-place finish. And starting lineup for the Louisiana side, they're playing pretty well too. Jakeen and Gannon surprisingly leading their attack, 9 points. Stroman with 7, including that late triple. Miller also has 7. Marchetti with 5, and Russell with 3. Back to Tulane. It's Daniels 9, Corner 7. Sayich and Barrett have 5 points apiece. Well, as we mentioned, it's the third place game for the 2018 Gulf Coast Showcase, and it's the final day of the men's bracket. What a 3 days it's been. Look at some really exciting games. It started right off the bat. An 84-80 thrilling victory for Tulane over South Dakota State. And the very first game of the whole tournament. Had a couple close finishes earlier today. Some competitive matchups. And right here is the third place game. The championship tonight at 7:30. UC Irvine with wins over UTSA and this very Tulane team. A defense and rebounding heavy side will take on an offensive juggernaut in the Toledo Rockets, who beat Louisiana in the semifinal round, which was yesterday. And the Rockets, interestingly enough, they've played in the 7:30 slot in each game that they'll have. Started off 7:30, you win, you play the late game at the bottom half of the bracket, and they win a second time, they're going to go to the championship. So they've been able to relax a bit in the morning and make their way over to Hertz Arena in the evening, where they have done a magnificent job offensively and defensively to secure a couple of impressive wins, which is what Tulane looking to do right now, leading Louisiana by 3 points at halftime, 34-31. It's a game that started off with a slow start for both sides. Physical battle back and forth. But the Green Wave, they've established themselves a bit. Jumped out to a 6-point lead with about 10 seconds to go. But Louisiana responding, that triple from Stroman. His first attempt of the game, first make obviously as well. And the battle, I guess you can look at it as the battle, would be the inside presence of Louisiana versus the big men of Tulane, because so far it's been an impressive job defensively by Tulane with their big men inside. And ideally for Louisiana, they start to get some of them in foul trouble. But only 3 free throws, like I mentioned. And for Louisiana in that first half, they have hit 2 of them. So that's a mark trailing by 3. They'll look to get some of those free throw opportunities in the second half of play. Well, the Gulf Coast Showcase, not the only college basketball action going on around the country. Plenty of tournaments and the most high-profile game. Third-ranked Gonzaga against top-ranked Duke out in Maui. And everyone kind of expected Duke, would they go undefeated with a national championship without a blemish? Well, at halftime, looks like a pretty big test. 47-39. Gonzaga, how about the Zags, leading the Blue Devils by 8 after 20 minutes. Tennessee, 5-point lead over Louisville. Earlier today, Kentucky, 13-point win over Winthrop, and Wisconsin taking down Pac-12 opponents. Stanford, 62-46. Badgers making their way into the top 25, right now ranked 25th in the nation. And we'll see some other scores tonight as well. Have some good basketball on tap. Creighton, Clemson, St. Mary's, Mississippi State, and a fellow BD Global event, the MGM Resorts main event. And later tonight, Auburn, Arizona. Auburn, they gave Duke a run for their money last night, but were not able to pull out the victory. Although, could we see Duke fall for the first time this season against Gonzaga? You know, Mark Few's going to have his side ready. Great coaching battle down there in Maui. Pretty good coaching battle here as well. On one side, Mike Dunleavy, senior, 17 years in the NBA. And the other, Bob Marlin, who has done wonders with this Louisiana program. We'll have second half action. It's about 3.5 minutes from now. Don't go anywhere. This is the third place game, 2018 Gulf Coast Showcase.
How much pressure do you have to perform from day one?
There's no pressure. There's no pressure at all. I've been getting pressure since I was 10 years old. I'm doing something that I love to do. That's play the game of basketball. Y'all like to watch me play basketball. It hasn't kicked in yet to what I'm getting myself into. I'm not going to guarantee no championship. I'll tell you that.
Back-to-back titles for the 52 years.
I just hope that they accept me for who I am as a basketball player, and especially as a person. I know how to be a leader. It's just a long-term. I always tell y'all that this was one of the long-term dreams I always had. That's just playing in the NBA.
From St. Vincent St. Mary's High School, LeBron James.
Coach, what was your message to your side at halftime?
Well, we got to come out the first 5 possessions here, get some stops defensively. It's their ball to start the half. Same situation we had last night against Toledo. We got behind early in the second half by not playing defense.
They're throwing a couple 7-footers in there. What can you guys do, especially considering you're a bit undersized compared to Tulane, to counter that?
Well, we got to keep attacking and trying to get to the basket. I think we're going around guys instead of through them. Therefore, we haven't gotten many calls. So we got to get to the free throw line.
All right, thank you, Coach. Best of luck in the second half. Sends it over to Spence now with Coach Dunleavy.
Got Coach Dunleavy with me here. Coach, the first half for you guys, a solid start. What do you do to contribute and move on forward with it?
Yeah, no, all our young kids played really well, so we're just trying to keep that energy up and to defend, and if we can do that, then we'll get a chance to come away with a win.
What do you see in this Louisiana rivalry? Is there a little something extra today?
Well, I mean, we both want to win. I mean, both of us had good first games, but not so good second games, so going home 2-1 is imperative. Each team wants it badly.
All right, thanks for the time.
Thank you.
As we continue along on the Gulf Coast Showcase, second half action, just about a minute to go. And right now, with the Tulane Green Wave leading the Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns 34-31. We take a look at the first half once again, and well, how Tulane got to this point so far. Their solid first half start, shooting 35% both sides, and a 2 for 7 from 3 for Tulane compared to 5 for 13 for the Cajuns.
And the numbers that really jump out to me, just the free throw difference. Tulane, they've gotten the line 13 times, 10 of 13. And for Louisiana, only 2 for 3 from the free throw line. That's a +8 margin and a 3-point ball game. And look at the little things like that. Hey, they add up. And like Coach Marlin mentioned, he wants to see his guys attack the basket, get physical in there, trying to counter the size that Tulane has presented them with.
All right, it's time to start the second half of our third place game with Mike Dunleavy and his side, Bob Marlin and his team. Remember, Cajuns coming off of an opening round win against Colorado State before falling 77-64 yesterday to Toledo. And with Tulane defeating South Dakota State by 4 in the first contest before dropping by 12 to Irvine. And those are the two teams, Irvine and Toledo, who we'll see in our championship game coming up right here on GulfCoastShowcase.com at 7:30. Tulane in the black, the Cajuns in the white. Underway for half number 2. Jordan Cornish, a nice feed for Shayich.
Just got a good view of the back of the Tulane jerseys. I don't know if you saw that, but it says Big Easy on the back of it. Said earlier, these are the nicest uniforms of the tournament. I'm sticking with that. Loving the all black.
Ladies good. Raging Cajuns led by Justin Miller.
Green Wave want to work through Daniels, trying to work out of a double team. He does, and again, Shayich has a point-blank floater, but he can't get it to go, and then he commits the foul.
Bit of frustration there, Shayich. Got the first one to go he took in this half. Short arms would have been the second one. I'll keep getting that look, though, especially with the pressure that Louisiana is applying.
Stroman's feed is taken by Cornish. And Barrett lost it out of bounds. Well, for the time being, we've got a 3-point game with Tulane in the lead. And despite the fact that we've had really competitive games in this tournament, this being game number 11 of 12, we haven't seen that many close finishes. We had the first game between South Dakota State and Tulane as Gant can't connect on a 3. And that ended up as a 4-point Tulane victory. Aside from that, every game has been decided by more than 7 points.
Even the 2 games we had earlier today at halftime was a little bit closer. Things were interesting, but second half, one side pulled away. Tulane doing their best to continue that trend.
Justin Miller with his left. Daniels vacuums the rebound. Cornish, nice fadeaway. And he's having a day so far. It's been his best game of the tournament, 9 points for Jordan Cornish. Louisiana wants time. Bob Marlin wanting to talk about it. The lead up to 7 as the Raging Cajuns will discuss. Right now it's Jordan Cornish and the Green Wave in control.
All right, crew, let's get started. Kurt?
Don't ignore the law. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 days before any digging project so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811.
Second half action, Bob Marlin needing to draw something up for the Cajuns. It's been Jordan Cornish so far today. After Cornish in the first game against South Dakota State was more of a facilitator, did dish out 3 assists, and he scored 16 points on 17 shots. But against Irvine in the loss, Cornish struggled, 2 for 12 from the field, 6 points. Here he is today, 3 for 7.
Let's say crucial possession for Louisiana. Oftentimes, games can be decided by the last 4 minutes of the first half and the first 4 minutes of the second half. Tulane so far, they've won both sections of the game.
Under 10 on the shot clock, Stroman will hoist and hit. And Stroman and Cornish are smiling, going back and forth. This turning into a good battle between these two. Daniels drive and kick, Shayich. Russell, good look. Bang!
Well, this is ideal for Louisiana. Coming right out of that timeout. Back-to-back triples. Defense looking good.
Here's Cornish going to work. Austin's dribble. Daniels will work one-on-one. 5 to shoot. Cornish in. Right-handed strong. Couldn't finish. That's the second chippy that he's missed at the rim. Stroman strong as well, but he was fouled by Shayich. You can't believe it. 2 free throws for Marcus Stroman.
It's rare to find a player that can believe that they fouled someone. Yeah, he kept his hand straight up after the play, but was leaning over just a bit. That's enough to be called for a personal.
The Spurs, while Tim Duncan was on that team. Although I suppose Duncan, every time he was called for a foul, gave a quizzical look. He just wouldn't complain.
You'll see some players raise their hand right away, accepting it.
Stroman was a part of a pair of state championship teams at Keenan High School in South Carolina. And a poor box-out effort from Tulane leads to a second chance opportunity for the Cajuns.
Let's Stroman go to work here.
Tried to make it a 4-point possession. And it's Blake, or rather, Bula Zhang who's called for the foul down low.
That'll take us to immediate timeout on the floor.
Tough stretch for Tulane. Louisiana, they've been capitalizing on it. Little foul there from Zhang just to hold. That's enough for the whistle.
All right, crew, let's get started. Kurt?
Don't ignore the law. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 days before any digging project so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811.
How much pressure do you have to perform from day one?
There's no pressure. There's no pressure at all. I've been getting pressure since I was 10 years old. I'm doing something that I love to do. Let's play the game of basketball. Y'all like to watch me play basketball. hasn't kicked in yet to what I'm getting myself into.
There's a train coming.
I'm not going to guarantee no championship. I'll tell you that.
Back-to-back titles for the 52 years.
I just hope that they accept me for who I am as a basketball player, and especially as a person. I know how to be a leader. It's just a long-term. I always tell y'all that this was one of the long-term dreams I always had. That's just playing in the NBA.
From St. Vincent St. Mary's High School, LeBron James.
Second half action, and we are no closer to our conclusion than when we began this contest. 40 apiece, just under 16 to play. Kudos to the fans who have made the trek from their respective university geographic locations. Good Cajun representation. The South Dakota State faithful showed up in bunches, trying to get away from that 32-degree weather.
Showed up and had some tailgates outside in the parking lot. Looked like they were having a good time.
Toledo has a good following as well. They're getting ready for a championship game appearance.
Was it even worth mentioning FGCU? Had a great fan showing, but what are they, 5-10 minutes away?
Fair, but I don't know about making the trek. I don't know how much of a trek that was.
No.
UTSA had 2 very devout fans for all 3 games.
And by the way, I got an update. We touched on the fact that they were not wearing suits today, right?
Right, they wore suits the first 2 games of this tournament.
Well, they said it was laundry day.
Oh,
so
obviously.
that was their excuse.
Off the steal, Cornish the trailer.
He's feeling good. You can see it, holding that follow through on his back pedal on defense.
Team high 12. That's his first 3 of the night. Stroman on the other side leading the way with 11. Russell hit a deep 3 earlier. Can't get that one to fall. Second chance opportunity though. Gant inside. It's Miller. He'll go to the line.
Tulane very much extending this 2-3 zone, similar to what you'll see at Syracuse. The guys in the lower wings, they're not just going to sit down low in the corner. They extend up high, especially with the length they have. Those bottom 3 players might as well.
Sun Belt academic honor roll Justin Miller, 13-9 against Colorado State in the opener. Had a team high 22 in the loss at Allen Fieldhouse, also collected 7 rebounds. And he sinks 2 at the line. Nearly an over and back from Daniels, kept it alive though.
Smart decision with the amount of big men in for Tulane. That's less ball handlers, put some pressure on him. Might result in a few turnovers.
Wood. Zhang. And Stroman from the top. Probing. Gant on the feed inside. Hands straight up. Bula Zhang and Boy Coca. And then Daniels lost it. Will go back the other way. 3-on-2. Russell all the way in with the right. No. And Daniels threw it away. Some sloppy basketball. Both teams need to tighten it up. The turnovers have been prevalent but not overbearing. 17 between the 2 teams combined.
Becoming contagious, the sloppy play.
Trying to end their Gulf Coast showcase with a win. Cedric Russell has been an aggressor in this game. Gant nearly came up with the offensive rebound. A Cajuns team who led the Sun Belt Conference in scoring last year and each of the last 6 seasons, averaged 83 a game last year. Scored 91 in their win. Nice dish from Cornish. Coca finishes.
Strong finish. When you're as big as Coca, there's no point of bringing the ball down. Don't put it on the ground. Keep it up top, which is what he did. Tough to defend that shot.
A nice weave from Stroman with the finish plus the foul. A chance to retie the game. Marcus Stroman making his presence felt. He's got a team-high 13.
Splits the double to the screen. Defense just too late on the collapse in the paint. And with Coca a step behind, slapped at it, and that's a foul.
Third foul on Coca. He'll depart. Kevin Jong back in.
When you set that screen as well, it brings one of the 7-footers up out of the paint. So rather than having 2 guys who can block anyone's shot in the paint, there's only one, and he was a step late there. Good recognition by Stroman.
Around the screen, Barrett had a Zhang cutting, and a Zhang just didn't see it. Wesley back in, he'll spell Marchetti. Stroman. Outlet to Cornish. Right inside, no defense. Game high 14 for Cornish.
Four fast break points now for Tulane.
You know Miller's not shy, and Barrett held Jeremy Hayes underneath. That's now the 6th team foul of the half for Tulane. On the other side, the Cajuns have yet to commit their first foul. Connor Crabtree will come in for Cornish. That can be a big difference down the stretch. Cajuns will shoot free throws the rest of the way. Hayes lost it, got it back, and a foul underneath, and Mike Dunleavy can't believe it.
He's irate, frustrated.
Those will be the first 2 free throws that we see, and that'll come after our break with under 12 to go. It's a 3-point Green Wave lead.
Hey fans, the Gulf Coast Showcase Championship Game will be directly after.
All right, crew, let's get started. Sure.
Don't ignore the law. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 days before any digging project so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811.
back here in Estero. We've talked about the international flair in this tournament and all of the different countries represented, especially with Tulane. Kevin Zhang from China. You have a pair of Sudanese big men down low for the Green Wave. This is both the men and the women's tournament. And in speaking with Coach Dunleavy about recruiting overseas, he says, I get calls all the time. A lot of people over the years who know me will clue me in on certain players who they think are capable of playing at this level. And he says, of course, that's a big help. Miller pushed off on a Zhang. And that is the first team foul of the half for the Cajuns.
Recruiting, finding talent, finding the right guys, I should say. It's hard enough when you're dealing with a U.S. population of 300 million, even tougher when you're focused on the world.
Well, you look at Zhang and Coca today, and they only have 4 points on 3 shots combined. But their defense has been what has made them so prevalent in this game. Coca with a pair of blocks. They've both been efficient on the floor, and that's one thing that Mike Dunleavy will always preach to his players. Most coaches will. Defense is the key. He tells his players that at least when he was in the NBA and as it stands now, as Barrett can't knock down the three, nobody's ever won a championship in the NBA in the last 20-plus years if they haven't been a top 10 defense in the league, the Warriors included. So all of those years where you saw the Houston Rockets and the Denver Nuggets score, and this is a direct quote, like a gazillion points a game, if they weren't a top 10 defensive team, they've got no chance.
Everyone talks about Golden State and that offense, Splash Brothers, KD, but they have an amazing defense. Draymond, the top defenders in the NBA, both Steph and Clay, great on-ball defenders.
Zhang can't get the first one to go, the follow by Wood, and now a held ball will send it the other way, and Louisiana down a point will have a chance to take the lead. Wood had an easy putback, just missed the dunk.
Second almost putback dunk that we've seen today. First game, it was Baxter was through and down off a shot that he took.
Stroman bumped by a Zhang, that's his third. And again, each foul resulting in free throws now. Tulane have to be able to defend without fouling.
Louisiana only attempted 3 free throws in the first half. The second half, they're up to 6, this being their 7th.
1-1. You know, we've talked a lot about Stroman and his ability to lead. I think the one thing that we failed to mention is the obvious comparison. You've got the star pitcher in Toronto. You've got the star point guard here for Louisiana. They do draw some comparisons. Stroman, just 6'2". Marcus in Toronto, listed at 5'9". Both doing great things athletically. You know, he gets that comparison quite a bit. He hits the deck as he ends up tripping Barrett. That's the unintentional trip that results in a foul. Tough luck for the Cajuns. Barrett appears to be all right.
And I can't imagine the name Marcus Stroman is all too common either. As we take a look at this replay.
I think initially it was Stroman who tripped over his own feet and then brought Barrett down with him.
Luckily, Barrett didn't bang his head on, couldn't tell who that was in Louisiana, but somebody's knee was there. See a lot of injuries caused by that.
Cornish with the left hand. 16 points for Jordan Cornish. There's Stroman on the other end. These two jousting, the two team leaders in points. And Marcus has a game-high 19.
Stroman turned to the corner against Jong and had a little bit of space to go up with it. Good
on
battle.
The seesaw with 9 lead changes. And a steal from Stroman. Coast to coast. That's a goaltend. Stroman, who averages more assists than rebounds this season, is working on a season high in points. Has already eclipsed that mark. And an offensive foul on Cornish.
Not under control, that possession. Lost the basketball around midcourt. And then just charged forward, extending. Yeah, see, he keeps his dribble. You can get up as long as you maintain your dribble. And the extension of the right elbow, forearm to create space.
Shayich back on the floor as Boulajang takes a seat. 3-point UL lead. Stroman, not this time. Gantho right there, and that's a good foul.
Well, I think we're going to get another close game. Haven't seen too many of them. Tulane was in one the first game. You have to wonder if that experience they had, pulling out a close win against South Dakota State, an experienced side, if that could translate to this third place game.
Marcus Stroman has set a new career high in points with 21 today. Previously, his career high was last December at Clemson when he scored 16, and now Hayes commits the foul on Cornish, just the 4th team foul for Louisiana. But I think even more surprisingly, this is Stroman's 4th year. He is a senior, and he's led the Cajuns in points just one time in his career, and he's got nearly twice as many points as anybody else today.
Normally a distributor, but when he needs to turn it on offensively, get some points on the board, he can certainly do that.
Daniels with the right, he's fouled, and that results in free throws.
Just a few minutes ago, Louisiana did not have a single foul in the second half now. They're up to 5 after that last contact, and we'll say it was before the shot.
Another whistle.
That was on the shot for sure. The corner, so now we'll see Daniels go to the free throw line.
Daniels has been a little more quiet today, but he's still contributed. Now into double digits with 10 points. 4 rebounds, a couple of assists.
Coca checking back in for the Green Wave. He's done those things that won't necessarily show up in the stat sheet. Just adjusting shots, making people second guess themselves about whether they want to go in there or not. They go back to the 2-3 zone when they bring him in. That length down low. They like to extend it out towards the perimeter.
Eight to shoot. It's Stroman floating. Soft touch won't go. Marchetti, a second chance. Russell, the trailer, feet set. And Coca, who skied for the rebound, was fouled. That's the 7th, which means Coca will head to the free throw line.
Called that one on Marchetti. Good look, top of the key for Russell. Didn't fall, a few players jumping after it. Marchetti the guilty party.
Back in the game, the Louisiana 3, Jeremy Hayes.
Redshirt freshman Coca to the free throw line for the first time this season.
Center right back. Shayich, a little shove from behind on the missed free throw.
At the line, 2 shots. Louisiana 23, Jakeem Gant.
Gant with 2. And this is what we expected now with 8 minutes to play. The amount of whistles that we've had in this second half. 18 fouls between the two teams here in half number 2. And Zhang will replace Shayich. So the two bigs back in, Coca and Zhang down low. Daniels to his left, stops, and one with, was that Gant underneath? Yes. Yep, Gant commits the foul and a three-point opportunity for Caleb Daniels.
Well, Gant tried to go for the big swat. As you'll see in a second, didn't keep those hands straight up. Shot fake, gets the initial defender in the air, and Gant just comes across the body. Daniels converting on the N1.
All right, crew, let's get started. Sure.
Don't ignore the law. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 days before any digging project so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811.
Tulane trying to stay with Louisiana, and they've worked through some foul trouble, John, to do so.
They definitely have. It's a game that might end up coming down to a player or two potentially fouling out, a couple guys with 3 fouls on each side, or even free throws. You have these close games, oftentimes the intentional fouls at the end of games, they do come down to free throws.
Let's give you a foul reset for you while we have the time. Tulane on their end, Samir Shayich has 4. Bula Zhang and Boy Coca each with 3. Those are the only 3 players in trouble on their end. On the other side, Malik Marchetti has 4. Marcus Stroman and Justin Miller each with 3 fouls. The additional free throw for Daniels. Cross court, Russell inside around to Zhang. whipped out. It's Hayes for three, no. Offensive rebound, Gant misses short, and Barrett taps it to himself. Good defensive stand from the Green Wave. Daniels with the right. Mike Dunleavy wants a goaltend, won't get it. In transition, Miller will bring it back. Seven on the shot clock, Stroman. Has been doing it himself today. Over the long Zhang, and the rebound back tapped, and Miller will take a baseline triple. And that's poor shot selection from Louisiana.
At that point, get long offensive rebound. Best to give the ball to your guard and reset.
Hayes was wise to the entry pass, and Miller looks over to the Louisiana bench, taps his chest, and says, "My bad." Bula Zhang, free throw line. It was given to him. Coca taps once, no. Tapped back Daniels into the trees, and Daniels knocked it off of his own leg. It's a good effort from the long arms of Coca to give Daniels a second opportunity.
Tried to split through him. Yep, hands just pushed it in that direction.
Under 6 to play.
Last possession, Louisiana took until about 5 seconds to go on the shot clock to really start their offense. Taking their time again here.
Cross court, Hayes, triple, bingo! Big time three for Jeremy Hayes. His first bucket of the night. It gives Louisiana their largest lead of the night.
He got a couple looks. Big hit though right there.
Barrett probes inside, dishes for Zhang, but plows in to Justin Miller, who draws the offensive foul, and the Cajuns are rolling.
Couple changes now for Tulane. They need offense as Cornish and Shayich check back into the game. Down by 7, 5 minutes to go. Cornish has been great today, 16 points. Shayich a little bit quieter, still put up 7.
Marcus Stroman with a career-high 21. Shayich couldn't corral the rebound, a fresh 30.
Work the clock a bit. Every second matters.
Needing to defend a second time through. Stroman to Gant, top of the key. Not to be. Barrett, the rebound, he nearly lost it. It's out of bounds and it stays with Tulane. A fortunate break for the Green Wave that time.
Yes. Had a chance to get down the floor, but Barrett kind of lost it for a second. Both sides struggling offensively late. Louisiana, they won for their last 10 from the fields. Tulane haven't scored in over 3 minutes of action. Defense.
This has been a game of different types of runs, different flows. And Jordan Cornish will get back to the free throw line where he's 1 for 2 today. A team high 16 for Cornish, who's now just 4 points shy of a career high. Front end of the 1-and-1, home for Cornish.
The size in there again with both Zhang and Koka.
Now 18 in 26 minutes. Back to 5. Hayes. Traveled.
Raging Cajuns fans not happy about that one. Well, there's Hayes.
Green Wave get the stop they need. Now time to execute on the offensive end. Shayich has been quiet today. 2 of 7 from the field. Barrett nearly lost it, got it back. And goes up and gets fouled. The free throw game continues. Both sides shooting a healthy number of them in this one. We hit our final media timeout of the 3rd place game in Estero, Florida. We'll break down what's to come. 2018 Gulf Coast Showcase bracket on GulfCoastShowcase.com. Back here in Estero, this is the 3rd place game, and we've got a good finish in store for you. We also have a championship game to be played. Spencer Siegel here with John Gross. Tulane and Louisiana in the 3rd place game. We have 2 of our 4 games decided today. This one coming down to the wire, and then the UC Irvine Anteaters and the Toledo Rockets in our championship showcase at 7:30.
2 teams in that championship game with very different styles of play. UC Irvine, defense-oriented, great rebounding team as well. And Toledo, not to say that they don't defend the basketball well, because they do, but very free-flowing offense. Get a lot of three-point shots up there, and they'll hit a lot of them too. I'm excited for it.
Down the stretch, free throws will be the difference. Cajuns 11 of 15 from the line, 73%. Tulane 13 of 19 at 68%. Here comes Shaquan Barrett, the freshman. First of 2 short. Just the 3rd miss in 11 tries for Barrett this season.
He knew he left that one short right away.
Down to 4. Cajuns have only converted on 1 of their last 10. Gant has struggled to get going in the second half. 3 of 13 for the game for Jacqueline Gant, and has not yet connected on a field goal this half.
You go 1 for your last 10, and late in the second half of a game, odds are you're not going to be in the lead.
Stroman's been the guy, and there is Gant's first second half field goal. It comes off of the miss. He has been a beast on the offensive boards, not just today. That's his 4th offensive rebound and 9th overall. And now Mike Dunleavy wants to talk things over.
Gut check time for Tulane. He pulled off the comeback at South Dakota State. A close game against the Jackrabbits on day 1. Now they're looking to pull out a win in the 3rd place game against Louisiana. Have to secure those rebounds though off the initial misses. Gant flying in there, crashing the boards for his 4th offensive rebound of the game. And Tulane, you gotta keep going to Cornish, I'd say at least. He's been feeling it from the field. It's an efficient 7 of 12 for 18 points.
He's been the only guy to attack with efficiency today. Coming up next for the Green Wave after this Gulf Coast Showcase, they do head home for 3 straight in New Orleans. They've got Georgia State, so another Sun Belt Conference showdown. Southeast Louisiana to follow, and then UT Martin after that. They do start conference play at Cincinnati on January 2nd. A tough start for them.
That's Georgia State team. We've talked about them a few times.
Shayich backs in, misses the easy lay-in. Tap once, tap twice, no. And a whistle and a foul will go against the Cajuns.
Miller was on the ground under the basket. Watch, falls down. Shayich goes up, he lands on him. Miller took a shot earlier in the first half.
It's Gant charged with the foul, and it's Shayich, who's a 70% free throw shooter, needing to connect with the Green Wave down 6. Tulane also has one more additional tournament-style competition to take part in. They've got Towson and the winner of LaSalle and Alabama A&M. That's 4 days prior to Christmas this year.
A couple of games in there and back-to-back days fill up that schedule. Not necessarily competitive, as competitive of fields as you've seen here on the Gulf Coast Showcase, but
Towson, the 2017 Gulf Coast Showcase champions.
Yes. We'll find out the 2018 champions just after this.
Gant got inside. Somebody missed an assignment, and Jakeenan Gant comes up with a big bucket for Louisiana. Boy, did they need him down the stretch. 2 field goals. Good court awareness from Justin Miller.
Watch, they set the screen. A Jang comes off of it, leaving Gant wide open for the flush.
Watch Miller with the court vision. You can't leave Gant as Zhang went to go hedge on Russell.
And Mike Dunleavy Sr. saw that the whole time. He, as soon as that play started to develop, screamed no. And not happy with what happened there. As Bulla Zhang came off of Gant. If there's anyone in this Louisiana side that you cannot leave open, it's Gant. "17 points for Mr. Gant.
Out of the timeout, Tulane needs something quickly. Looking for a response. Blake Paul has seen limited action. He's in the game. Here's Cornish for 3. Offline. Barrett's got the rebound, and then he threw it away. No numbers for the Cajuns. Marcus Stroman wisely says, let's slow things down.
Louisiana
That's just a freshman with a freshman turnover.
Louisiana came out of that timeout in a 3-2 zone, so anything that Tulane maybe drew up on the sideline against a man, they couldn't run it.
Miller backing down on Shayich. Two big bodies in the post. The strength of Justin Miller, but he can't finish. Barrett wanted to go quickly. Cornish bobs and weaves, lays it in, plus the foul. Jordan Cornish has tied a career high with 20 points.
Tough finish with the left hand. Cornish, big physical guy. Marchetti now fouling out. Made an impact on offense and defense. Be missed for the final minute and a half.
Hands were straight up, but Malik Marchetti got him with the body, so he's done in 33 minutes. 5 points for Marchetti to go along with 6 rebounds. Can't cut it to a one-possession game, so the Green Wave need at least one stop here. Drive and kick, extra pass. Miller's got a good look for 3. Gant, the offensive board, straight up. Can't put it back. Paul fights for the rebound. It's battled underneath. A whistle. And it'll go Louisiana's way.
Paul was out of bounds when he touched the ball. And that means the ball is therefore out of bounds.
Well, that rebound was right there for Blake Paul.
Wow, that was close. He stepped out.
Hayes wide open. And a bad foul from Gant. His third. Will walk the other way and shoot free throws with the clock stopped.
Hayes had a wide open look. Sometimes those are toughest shots to hit because you overthink it. You got to go up, take the shot.
You see Jordan Cornish with some words of wisdom for Bull Ajang. For his career, he's 5 for 10 from the free throw line. He's got 2 shots. Big ones at that.
That last foul by Gant on you don't want to see if you're the Raging Cajuns, about 80 feet away from the hoop. Stops the clock and gives Tulane a chance to get some more points on the board. Cut this deficit.
2 big-time free throws from Bull Ajang. And Jordan Cornish is leading his team in all kinds of ways. It's a 2-point game. We're under a minute to play. Barrett fouled Stroman. That's not a good foul. Down to 14 on the shot clock. Stroman will take 2 free throws. Off in the distance on this end of the floor. Both teams who will be competing in our championship game are sitting and watching this one come to its conclusion. Marcus Stroman with a career-high 21 points and a 71% free throw shooter. And he calmly sinks 2. Timeout, Tulane.
Timeout, Tulane. Green Wave.
Down by 4, 42 seconds.
Timeout.
By no means do you need to rush a shot. Can work into
Exciting
something good.
Conclusion when we come to an end. Let me come back. 42 seconds remain. Tulane trailing by 4 with the ball. John, what are you looking for on the offensive end?
I think you have to find Jordan Cornish. Again, you don't need to rush a shot. You don't need a three. You don't need to hoist anything up. And Cornish looks like he'll be the inbounder. A lot of times teams will do that. To inbound, give it back to him.
Cornish has taken twice as many shots as anybody else on his side. Not much time to work with. After a basket, the Green Wave will have to foul. It'll be Barrett looking for Cornish. Here he is. 10 to shoot. Cornish with the left. Took some contact. Wesley comes up with the rebound. A whistle. And Louisiana gets a timeout despite the fact that Trajan Wesley might not have had possession of that ball. Take another look. When Wesley went for it, the timeout called. Not close enough to give it to him. And now Tulane has to play the foul game.
They go for 5 or so seconds to try to foul. Now even if Louisiana, even if they have both these free throws, now with the double bonus, it's still a 2-possession game. And at that point, you would have to take a 3 most likely on the opposite end if you're the Green Wave. But the worst thing that could happen is you're down by 6, still with life. Cornish couldn't finish on the drive. Would have been a big bucket for him. It's been so good all night long. 8 for 15. His best game of the tournament so far.
It was Miller who called the timeout, so a good job of some court awareness.
If you're in Louisiana, you want to make sure that you're getting the ball in the hands of your best free throw shooters, because they'll have a chance to extend this advantage pretty soon.
Mike Dunleavy will certainly want his squad to try and grab a steal on this end of the floor first, and Barrett fouls Stroman. It has been a career night for Marcus. 8 of 17 from the field, 2 of 5 from distance, 5 of 8 from the free throw line. And he shattered his old career high, 23 points. Mike Dunleavy wanted to pull his team closer. Let's put them on the free throw line, allowing Stroman, who just sank 2 a moment ago, 2 big free throws with his side only up 2. 2 more to come. Stroman extends the lead to 6. Make it 25 for Marcus Stroman. Got to go quick. Cornish rises. Can't hit. Rebound to Gant. Wood will apply the foul. Stroman can pad some stats for Mama, and that will do it. The Cajuns will get out of here with a pair of wins at the 2018 Gulf Coast Showcase. A loss sandwiched between a couple of big performances as the Cajuns use 25 points from Marcus Stroman, 17 from Jakeenan Gant, and they'll take their talents back to the Sun Belt Conference. They do have some home games, though, coming up. They go to New Orleans next week, 4 home games in the non-conference after that with Southern, Loyola New Orleans, Prairie View, and Louisiana Tech. They start conference play on January 3rd against Arkansas State at home. It's 26 for Stroman, who gets a nice ovation as he comes to the sideline on what is a career day for the senior from New Orleans, or rather from Columbia. For Tulane, a 1-2 tournament. And they'll head back to New Orleans with a 2-3 record on the year. Mike Dunleavy has a tall task starting conference play on January 2nd at Cincinnati, followed by a home game against SMU. They end conference play March 9th against Wichita State. Not an easy place to play. The Cajuns finish in 3rd place in the 2018 Gulf Coast Showcase. Tulane will gracefully take 4th. And that sets the scene for our championship matchup as the two sides take the court with UC Irvine and Toledo. You can catch that game right here on GulfCoastShowcase.com. Our final score, the Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns 68, the Tulane Green Wave 61. Stroman with 26, 8 of 12 from the free throw line. Jakeenan Gant with 17. Justin Miller finishes with 11. And Cedric Russell has 6. On the other side, it was a career night for Jordan Cornish. He tied a career high with 20 points, along with 3 rebounds and a pair of assists. Caleb Daniels, the only other member in double figures. He ended up scoring 10 on 3 of 8 shooting, with 4 rebounds and 2 assists as well. Shaquan Barrett with 8.7 rebounds. The freshman put up a nice showing. Samir Shayich with 9 points and 6 rebounds. For the Ragin' Cajuns, they can hold their head high as Bob Marlin coaches this squad up. A job well done. Marcus Stroman is with our very own John Gross after his career night here in Estero.
Marcus, a career night for you offensively. Most of this tournament, we've seen you predominantly as a distributor. At what point today did you realize you had to take over the game by scoring?
It's a feel for the game. I seen my shooters weren't making down shots, so I know I had to be aggressive, and today my shots were going in.
You're a senior leader on this team. What do you feel, especially in close games, what do you feel that your role is?
Just win the game, because Coach Marlin put the ball in my hand. He trusts me, and I'm glad he trusts me. So I just got to prove to him that I can close out games, and that's what I did tonight.
Your side finishing 2-1 in this tournament, a 3rd place finish. Your overall assessment of your team's performance over the 3 games?
It's been great, but you gotta go out to practice next week and be ready to work.
Marcus, a career high 26 points. Congrats on the win. Spence, back to you.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Marcus. And thank you for tuning in today for our 3rd place contest. We've got 1 game left on the men's side, and it's sure to be a good one. It's UC Irvine and Toledo battling for the right to be named the 2018 Gulf Coast Showcase champions. That comes your way just after 7:30. And that'll happen right here on GulfCoastShowcase.com. In the meantime, we wrap up here. We thank you for tuning in as Louisiana downs Tulane 68-61. For everybody that works so hard, for our producer James Crenshaw, our executive director Glenn Pfister, and our tournament director Max Weinbrenner. And for John Gross, I'm Spencer Siegel. Signing off from Estero. We'll be back in 20 minutes with the finale of the men's tournament right here on GulfCoastShowcase.com.